It's like this. I read a book by John Krakauer last year, and it was about Pat Tillman. Some of you might remember the story about him. He played for the Cardinals, and after 9/11, he joined the Army and became a Ranger and was deployed. And before I read the book, I knew that Pat Tillman died. And that made me sad enough, but I knew he died from friendly fire, which was even more discouraging. And as I started the book, I found myself getting very excited, because you kind of saw the rise, and he was a unique individual, and he was doing great in football. But as I went by every chapter, I knew the story was going to get worse, that it was going to degenerate into the tragic reality of what happened. And some of us believe that about our lives, that as we face the next chapter and the next chapter and the next chapter, the story is going downhill. But that's not how the psalmist sees it, does he? He says, I'll recount the wonderful deeds of God. Saying God isn't letting the story go downhill, but God is active. He's doing things. He's making things happen, and He's bringing everything together to be what He wants it to be. The psalmist sees the main character winning in the end, and winning in a tremendous fashion, where everything gets restored and put together to be exactly as God desires it to be. There's another series of books that I love to read. A friend at Doxa gave them to me, and I just kind of got obsessed with them. And they're Vince Flynn novels about a guy named Mitch Rapp, and he's kind of a combination of Rambo and James Bond, like half secret agent, half just give me a gun and let me kill everybody. So I really like the books. And basically, Mitch Rapp saves the world in every book from some kind of imminent disaster. Sometimes it's a nuclear warhead, sometimes it's a big terrorist plot, but every disaster he saves the world in every book. And I always know when I'm reading it that he's going to win. But I still like to see how he's going to win, and I like to see the bad guys get theirs and all that. And I know that the people who are fighting against him are in some serious trouble. And the people who stick close to him and follow his agenda are going to be okay. And friends, I want to tell you that when we follow the main character of this big story that's going on, we're going to be okay too. That if we can see that the God who created everything, the God who invites us into His story, if we follow Him, that main character closely, our lives are going to be what they were meant to be. We're going to be in the right places at the right times. We're going to be doing the right things. And we're going to end up becoming the right kind of people. And so the psalmist is reminding himself that I've got to make choices that are going in the direction that the main character is going. Because his victory is my victory. And he's going to win. And it doesn't matter how bad it looks or how impossible the situation seems. If I stick close to Him, it's going to be all right. And can you imagine if we lived with that reality every day, the kind of courage that it would bring to our lives? The courage that it would bring to our choices. Isn't it a shame in this world that there's so many evil people and they are radically evil for good? I mean, they're courageous, but for evil. And there's so many good people in the world who are completely afraid and cowardly for good. And what we really need in this world is people who are good and who are courageous. People who know how the story ends and are trusting enough in the ability of the main character that wherever he goes, they'll go to. No matter what the risk or the impossible situation looks like. We need people who are radical for good, who have recounted the deeds of the Lord and are willing to be self-sacrificing, to be humble, to be servants, and to do every good thing they can with their life until their small part of the story is done. Where are those people? We need them. And the psalmist says, I'll recount the deeds of the Lord. And it will affect the choices that I make.